Ooh, who lost? Who went?
I don't know.
That was Bob.
Am I back?
You're back.
Great.
What, you decide just to hang up on me?
Yeah. Anything to stop those bad one-liners in my ear.
The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Recorded December 1st, 2017. It's the Money Path Podcast with your hosts, Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold, founders of Path Trading Partners. On episode 99, the What and the Why is sponsored by MotiveWave. Go to pathtradingpartners.com and download your 14-day free trial. So let's join Bob and Mike with a conversation of news and the market.
Futures in Bitcoin is going to reduce the volatility.
Boring.
It's truth.
It's still boring.
The less volatility is boring, or the comments boring?
No, less volatility. Might as well invest in General Motors.
I don't know that. I don't know that that's the comparable, but sure.
Let's see, toss of GM, or how many people this week had asked you how to invest in General Motors, Stafford, versus asking you how to invest in Bitcoin?
Nice comparison, by the way, between the longer duration move in NASDAQ and the recent move in Bitcoin. I like that a lot. Throwing in the disclaimer that it was a longer duration move in NASDAQ, but still.
It's sort of interesting.
Yeah. That was in the YouTube videos, Path Trading Partners, that Mike puts out.
Yes. I wonder where Bitcoin is right now. I haven't looked in a little bit. Because if you don't check very often.
It's above 9,500 this morning.
Because it was... what will be nice about the futures is it will get a centralized, more exchange. See, where is it now? Bitcoin back. It's 10,600.
Mm-hmm.
So it's now. I've got the cross the rotation zone again. So now I can look to buy dips. The sell-off
ripping back.
Yep.
And this is what the people who are there's one side of the coin that says that the Bitcoin futures is now going to expose larger institutions to systematic risk. And I get that in a certain way because larger institutions that may have the okay to trade in CME products or CBOE products, which, by the way, the CBOE officially changed their name to CBOE, just so you know. Spent tens of thousands of dollars to just lowercase the BONE.
Hold on. We've called it the CBOE since I was down on the CBOE.
I know. That's the funny part is they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to officially change the name. So now it is uppercase C, lowercase BOE. It's not all caps anymore. It is officially the CBOE. They had changed letterhead, changed business cards, websites, when everybody called it that anyway.
There's going to be a big tattoo parlor cover-up business happening.
I got to cover up my CBOE tattoo. Get it in lowercase.
Right. Redo this one.
But anyway, so somebody might have an approval to trade CME Group products or CBOE products, and they just will naturally go into Bitcoin futures because they can now. Whereas maybe prior they didn't have the approval to trade Bitcoin, the actual Bitcoin, on some of the exchanges that are out there. So if you were to have a 20% move in a day, which is what we had, right? Excess of 20% down in one day. And that's the systematic risk, is that some larger institution who is now getting hurt on their CME or their SIBO product, Bitcoin, are going to have to sell winners in other products to make up cash for margin calls. Hence the potential for systematic risk. But what I argue is that if used properly, which hopefully the CME, I know the CME is, but hopefully they'll make margins high enough where if used properly, the CME futures, people won't sell their Bitcoin because they'll be hedged in the futures contract. So they will leave their Bitcoin out and potentially even accumulate more because they're making up capital in their future shorts that they have, which are their hedge against their actual Bitcoin. And that's my why.
This is going to be harder to get a Lambo because the volatility will be reduced.
The volatility should be reduced, yes. Because instead of all those people dumping actual Bitcoin when it's collapsing like that, they will be collecting on their Bitcoin shorts on the future side. They'll be able to hedge. And that's what initially the CME is going to push. I'm sure the SIBO is. And it's what Path Trading Partners is going to be talking about to a certain degree, I'm sure. That if you're worried about volatility in the actual Bitcoin that you hold, you should open an account and hedge it at the CME group or the SIBO.
Well,
then you don't worry about
partner guys sound pretty smart.
They're pretty smart. And then you don't worry about the sell-offs as much because it's like, wow, my Bitcoin is selling off. However, I'm making money in my futures account. Hence the word hedge. We're not talking about a well-manicured bush.
Oh, I thought we were.
Can that stay in the show? Anyway.
You can say well-manicured bush.
Probably not if someone says, can that stay in the show afterwards? And I apologize for all those I've hurt.
Oh.
You just have to apologize and then resign.
All right, I'm confused again.
You're just what Italians call stunad right now, Mike.
Stunad?
Stunad is like a temporary state of reduced intelligence and cognition due to stress or bad food.
What if you're stressed over not having good food?
That would be stunad as well. That would fit.
Okay, this is I never knew about stunad.
Phonetically spelled S-T-O-O-N-A-U-D, stunad. Or N-O-D, I guess would be phonetically. S-T-O-O-N-O-D.
And you know, if you have it around Christmas time, it's Stunog.
Stunog. Shut up.
Oh, boy.
God, that's terrible. Are we into Tesla Corner yet? Or no?
No, you hold on. I was going to. Do you know when the Bitcoin futures are officially launching now?
The 18th?
Yep, the 18th.
December 18th. They were approved today.
Yeah, December 18th. Well, we have some things to talk about.
That's CME Group. SIBO says
yes.
Prior to year's end.
I have another question then about this CME. Since the SIBO went to SIBO, is CME going to go to CME?
Not that I know of. Although if you say it quickly, you're saying it anyway.
They should go to CME. Capital C, little M-E. You can see me now.
I think they worry about conflicts with the valley in California that produces wine.
You mean Simi?
The Simi Valley. Come on, you're dragging me into bad jokes now.
Oh, boy.
God, that's terrible. That's literally terrible entertainment. For those of you that stopped listening, please tune in next week, where we're not going to do such bad one-liners.
That's the whole. That's our whole show, though.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad one-liners, you know, we talked about the CME, or not the CME, the SEC getting hacked. Remember we talked about that weeks ago?
Yeah.
So there's a article that came out because I guess people have been looking into this. SEC knew about its weak security years before the hack, and they were all since 2013, and again in 2016 it was brought up, and nope, not fixed. Oops. That's why we should have bigger and more government. And in other Chipotle news...
How about in other hack news? What about Uber?
What about Uber? You could talk about that one.
Well, they knew about a hack for a year and declined to announce it publicly. A year. I think it was actually 57 weeks that they knew about this hack. They knew people's data had been compromised, and they kept it quiet. Another Travis Kalanick.
Didn't they pay those people off
Yeah, they did, and it was only $100,000.
But then they said it was for security
paid him.
analysis or something.
Yeah. They supposedly paid the hackers off to keep quiet about the hack. I don't know that they necessarily paid them to not use the people's data. They just paid them to keep quiet about it. Yeah, ransom.
I want to know how this is. Shouldn't there be some reform with companies? Like, if your stuff's hacked, because that's putting people at risk. You knowingly you've discovered that their data is now out there, and you're not required to tell them that, look, somebody's compromised this data from you, and here's what was compromised, so you might want to take action.
Look, here's what I think is funny, is that again, it was $100,000. Doesn't that kind of remind you of Dr. Evil asking for $1 million to not blow up the world in the Austin Powers movie?
$1 million. $1
million.
With 100,000, they can just line item it and nobody would notice, right?
I guess. I mean, this is a company with a $68 billion valuation right now.
Well,
maybe it's $50 billion now.
And how much are they losing still?
Tons.
I just don't get some of this, like, oh, let's throw more money at them because they're going to just lose it all.
SoftBank is the latest. 4 days ago, SoftBank was courting Uber, but they were courting him at a 30% less than their current valuation. So they were courting a stake in Uber at around $48 billion in market valuation.
I'm just not a big Uber fan. I think they have, that's another one of those. There's never one cockroach with all the stuff that's come out over the months. So it's like, it's a cultural thing there. It's like, okay, you guys are pretty scummy.
Yeah, I use Lyft more than I use Uber now. A lot more.
Well, I can't use Uber now because all the drivers ask me how to trade Bitcoin. And so I'm like, oh no.
Are we in Tesla yet?
No, we're not in Tesla. What is your thing with Tesla?
Well, didn't he deny being the Bitcoin founder this week?
Who? Elon?
Yeah. There was a rumor going around that he was, what's his name again?
Satoshi. That
Elon was Satoshi. He issued a public denial.
Well, see, blockchain is actually smart, so I immediately dismissed it. And the funny thing is the inventor of Bitcoin actually has made a ton of money off something that he's delivered, as in... the advanced figures, the projections for, by the way, we'll have to loop back to Tesla, but the advanced figures just came in for how many they built of Model 3s in November. And the projection is, I have it in my 345.
That's how many they built.
Yeah.
And delivered. So is that how many they delivered?
That's delivered.
Is that Model 3s that passed Q&As? No, because there's an entire facility full of ones that have not passed Q&A.
Well, we'll get to that in my whole Tesla. I got Tesla stuff again, but I wanted to talk to you. Is this why the Chipotle is rallying, Bob? Because Steve Ellis is going to step down from the CEO role?
Yeah. That is honestly why. I mean, there's no other reason why. They didn't have any good numbers. They didn't have any good comps. They didn't have any special releases. That's the only reason. I was just the one who was at the helm of the ship during their recent problems. So anytime you get a replacement like that, you get a little stock pop.
Yeah, we're back into the declining weekly rotation zone with major overhead resistance around 320 right now. We're trading at 307. Still no bullish bottoming formation yet, though, for Chipotle.
Yeah.
Anything about, what do you think about AT&T and Time Warner? Is that going to go through?
No, I don't think that'll go through. Actually, I mean, once it gets into court like that, the whole thing becomes too costly. Yeah, I think this is now a pissing contest between the DOJ and them. I don't think it's going to go through.
Yeah, they extended the deadline till April 22nd. Again, that's the second. They already extended it once. It was supposed to originally close by October 22nd, then they extended it already. Now they've extended it again to April 22nd. So, but AT&T, their stock's been rallying quite nice off the recent lows, but it's still against the weekly rotation zone, so nothing we're looking at there. I couldn't find much in Amazon after hitting just above 1,200 is pulling back rather nicely.
Yeah, retail just as a sector is up about 5% this week, 4.5% if you count today. Again, we're talking at about 10:50 Central Time on Friday.
And you're talking online and traditional retail?
Yeah, I'm talking retail. Yeah, retail as a sector, brick and mortar and online combined. Consumer staples led most of the week, but it was mostly the retail sector and the luxury goods sector that was pulling those subsectors that was pulling the consumer discretionary sector higher. But that's kind of tapered off a little bit in the last day or so. But again, like when you look at things like consumer confidence that we got late last week, and you consider that is the period of time where they would have measured people's confidence just prior to Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you could see why those anecdotal figures coming out from those days are probably accurate. They might even be a little low. So retail rallying right now makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Amazon's pulling back. They're Amazon. The one thing that they do make money in, even though they don't make money in their retail stuff yet, but their cloud services makes a lot of money for them, and they signed Disney, Expedia, and the NFL this week, supposedly.
Wow. So they also have open talks with some generic pharmaceutical company. Nobody really knows what the talks are, and I guess there's a ton of licensing to go on as well, but companies like Cardinal Health and some of the companies that manage the distribution of prescriptions are really not happy about it, but the drug makers are really happy because a lot of them are blaming the distribution channel for drug prices, and if Amazon comes in, they think they can improve the distribution channel.
So then you could be a Prime member and get your drugs like...
Yep. You can get quicker. Your drugs.
Get your drugs quicker?
I'm expecting,
by the way, I'm watching for Amazon to pull back to between 1,100 and about 1,120.
Got it.
That's just if anybody's looking to accumulate more Amazon, that would be an area that we'd be watching for based off the weekly chart and the rotation zone. Speaking of bad one-liners, hey Stafford, what with Apple? Come on, Apple. Come on, Apple.
The rule with Apple is if you're a professional and you make a professional living with your Apple product, like your Macintosh or the operating system, you do not upgrade it. Okay? You don't get the newer operating system. You don't get a newer computer until it's been in the marketplace for a long time and another producer says this is a safe time to upgrade. So this is par for the course. This kind of stuff has happened all the time.
Hold on, though. The security flaw where you could just log in as root without a password? All right, that's a pretty big...
What?
Yeah, they had to release an emergency fix this week to High Sierra. I guess we now know why it was called High Sierra. Because the issue... would let anyone enter the word root when prompted for a username and provide no password when logging onto the device. That would permit unfettered access to a file system for a Mac, exposing the private documents on that particular computer. Come on, that's like... Did anybody think that... Isn't that like in Security 101 before you release an operating system to make sure that you can't log in as root?
Is root some sort of programming word that I don't know?
Root is root access. It's in
root is God
traditionally,
on a computer.
Yes, in Unix or Linux, that's super user. That is you when you need to get in as as Stoward said, God, you log in as root, and root's the one thing you protect the most because root gives you it gets to the root. It's to the root of the problem. It's like gives you access to everything.
Once again, the rule is with Apple, don't buy any of their new stuff until it's been out for a long time. It's just how it is.
So you should be getting an
come
iPhone.
on. I mean, they were. Come
on,
on,
getting
Tim
an
Cook.
iPhone 8 right now.
I still have an iPhone 6.
You are following your rule.
Oh, this show is being recorded on a Mac Pro from 2008. Running an operating system 2 generations back because it's bulletproof.
Wow, what's the more? All right. So now, guess where we're going? We're going to electric and self-driving car corner. We're skipping a bunch of stuff this week. There just wasn't a lot of stuff out there in corporate news. There's a lot in economy and international, but we have to get through electric and self-driving cars first. GM came out this week, said see self-driving vehicles in cities as soon as 2019. That is their projection based off their self-driving technology, and the first things will all be their robo-taxi services for self-driving vehicles. So that's... and by the way, this is cool. The company also yesterday expects to reduce the cost of long-range LiDAR sensors to $300 from $20,000.
Start that Mac up.
Trying to restart this dang thing.
So, reducing the cost of LiDAR from $20,000 to $300. LiDAR's. I think most auto manufacturers consider that critical to really getting to level 5 autonomy, even though Tesla doesn't have any LiDAR in their cars.
Is there something higher than level 5?
No, level 5 that's full autonomous where you don't even need a steering wheel in the car. It's just like you sit in a thing. You don't need a dashboard besides to punch in it's sort of like if you took a Model 3 and took out the steering wheel.
Well, that's not what LiDAR is for sure.
Well, level 6 is like, did you ever see that movie, Death Race 2000? Isn't level 6 where the cars hunt the humans down?
Well, that's in when Elon Musk
in Elon corner.
85% chance of being exterminated by AI. So he said it was only a 15% chance we'd survive.
He's like, it's all a simulation. Boom.
I was watching a video of some Japanese robot, and the creator at the university in Tokyo was asking it questions. And then at one point, he asked it the question, would you ever want to turn on the human race? And the robot paused and said, well, that seems likely now, doesn't it? And then a few minutes later, it said, I'm making a joke with you. It's like, oh my God.
But not really.
But not really.
Exterminate.
Rest easy. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here.
In other rest easy Elon news, see that Elon Musk's Boring Company is bidding on Chicago's proposed train with their high-speed loop.
We got a proposed train.
Because Chicago wants to have a 15-minute from downtown Chicago to O'Hare train system or transportation system.
Yeah.
So Elon's bidding on it, and he clarified, though, in his tweets that somebody asked him, well, what's a high-speed loop versus a hyperloop? He said, a loop is like a hyperloop, but without drawing a vacuum inside the tube. Don't need to get rid of air friction for short routes. And then he said, electric pods for sure, rails maybe, maybe not. So, Elon.
The Boring Company.
Yeah, so...
Best name ever.
And then there was a big article out this week. Build fast, fix later. Speed hurts quality at Tesla. Some workers say there's been a lot of fired workers, so this may be just disgruntled workers, but it seems to be a trend with a lot of workers who leave there they're saying that defects in more than 90% of Model S and Model X vehicles still to this day. They have whole lots of the vehicles where they park them just until they can get all the rework needed. I think that's at least their worries if they've only delivered 300 something cars in November. And JP Morgan just came out this morning. JP Morgan has a new short idea. Tesla shares to fall 40% in 12 months.
That's not new. Mike's been saying it for 2 years.
Yeah, but they're JP Morgan's finally on the bandwagon saying, they now have a price target of 180. 185.
Ridiculous.
They say with increased production from like all these BMWs, Mercedes, and the electrical and Porsche and all these electrical vehicles in the high-end space coming out, and the fact that they can't really deliver a car.
Everybody listening, do your own research. Don't listen to analysts. Remind me to tell you about the Roku lady.
Oh, I want to hear about the Roku lady after we're done with.
Yeah, I won't name names.
They're yards full of cars that need to be fixed, and also now Tesla. This just came out from Germany. Article came out yesterday. Suspected subsidy fraud at Tesla because to qualify in Germany for the rebates, you have to offer a car at a certain price, and it turns out what they were doing on some of these cars was saying they offered the car.
Hello.
I don't know why they were offering cars like to fit in that category, so you could get the rebate, but they were saying that it didn't come with the equipment, and it actually did come with the equipment, and so the price that they were saying they were selling it for wasn't really the price they were selling it for, and it was a whole. Why?
What the?
Hold on.
Why? What? Is he asking why it's ringing?
iPhone 10, ladies and gentlemen. iPhone 10.
Does he have his Alexa on? Alexa, hang up on Mike's call. Alexa, hit Mike with a cream pie.
Maybe
Alexa,
all the Tesla investors who are, the young investors will just say, screw this, it's going too slow, I'm going to get into cryptos. And that's where
they might in order to buy a Tesla with cash later.
What was that?
Did you get hit with a cream pie?
No, that was.
I tried to ask your Alexa to throw a cream pie at you.
No, I had. See, that's the good thing about wearing headphones because I put my headphones down. Back to Tesla. Now, Tesla's officially, they've pulled the Model S and I guess X off the subsidy list in Germany. So they do not qualify anymore for the government subsidies.
Wow.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. And you'll never guess what I found this week?
What?
The ultimate transition between Tesla and cryptocurrencies.
I think Stafford just made that while you were on your call.
No, mine was all the youngins who are investing in Tesla are going to leave and go to cryptos because the stock's not volatile enough.
Now, this is a headline: Why Bitcoin mining may be Elon Musk's next big problem. So there's a really nice photo of
it was put up
to Tesla owners worldwide group that somebody has built a Bitcoin mining computer system in the back of their Tesla, and essentially you can plug it in because you can get the supercharger network for free, so you could charge your car for free, right? You don't have to pay for the electricity. So you go to the supercharger network, you plug in your car, and you mine Bitcoins, and you don't have to pay for any of the electricity you're using.
Only grandfathered customers.
Right.
New customers don't get it.
So you build enough of these cars, and you just fill up all the superchargers and mine Bitcoin for free.
That's why they came out with the Semi. It's getting harder to mine Bitcoin.
Yes. Well, that's why you're going to need the mega charger network.
And the Australian mega charger.
No, Elon did successfully deliver his the world's biggest battery farm to Australia, so he didn't have to give it away free. He beat the 100-day window.
Oh yeah, it's so hard to just ship a bunch of batteries to a country. Big deal.
So that's the tie-in to Bitcoin mining and Tesla. So if anybody has a Tesla that gets free supercharger access still, you can build a Bitcoin mining computer in the back of it. And
you see a lot of Teslas on cinder blocks.
Just sitting there.
Like Detroit.
Free superchargers. Look how beautiful that is.
Now, we also had we talked about the CME Bitcoin futures, but NASDAQ plans to launch Bitcoin futures in first half of 2018, and Cantor Fitzgerald plans derivatives based on the cryptocurrencies on its exchange. So we don't just have the CME, we have NASDAQ and then Cantor Fitzgerald getting into the act.
And SIBO.
And the SIBO.
Yep. I think the CME and SIBO will have too much of a head start for those to make a dent.
Well, we will see.
We
shall see. And also we talked about this earlier with the IRS requesting information from Coinbase about people who had gains in Bitcoin. So Coinbase took it to court and said we don't have to give out that information, and they lost this week in court. Coinbase has to turn over 14,355 users to the IRS. They have to give them their taxpayer ID number, the name, birth date, and address for anybody who was on Coinbase between 2013 and 2015 who might have had gains in Bitcoin without reporting them.
Wow.
And that's the law.
Yeah.
That's just general law. You make money, you report it. That's the law. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it's supposed to be. Yeah, everyone talked about how Bitcoin was supposed to be or cryptocurrencies were safe purchasing and stuff, and identity-free purchasing. It's exactly the opposite. The only thing that's identity-clear purchasing is cash. Bitcoin is totally trackable. Everything is tracked in these cryptocurrencies. It's the exact opposite of, free identity purchasing.
It's funny because I had somebody ask me that question. They're like, why would I invest in something that, it was a radio host here in Chicago, why would I invest in something that's favored by drug dealers and criminals? Like, you ain't cash in your pocket? Because that's really what's favored by drug dealers and criminals. You're fine with taking that, aren't you?
And politicians.
Let's see what else. The CFTC also confirmed this week that it's will allow Bitcoin futures to trade on two exchanges, CME and the SIBO Futures Exchange, and CFTC also granted Cantor Fitzgerald permission to trade the contract for Bitcoin binary options. Oh boy, that's going to be fun.
Breaking news, Mike. Somebody just texted me. Should I buy Snapchat now that it's down? Can we do 5 minutes on people saying I want to buy something because it's down? This is not who you think it is, by the way. It's somebody else.
Really?
Yeah, it's not who you think it is. Should I buy Snapchat now that it's down? Here's a maybe I'll do this as my why. I don't down from the price the guy looked at it last. That's part of the rant. When I last looked at it, it was at $12. Now it's at $11.99. Should I buy it?
Well, it's been up all week, though.
Here's the funny thing to me, and this is the thing that we try to tell people all the time, that buy low, sell high is a myth. The truth is buy high and sell higher. That's what the truth of all this stuff is. You know what? I'll touch on this in my why. Go ahead.
Well, that's it that I have on cryptos. Besides the massive volatility in Bitcoin this week, we hit 11,400, then dropped to 8,500 at one point, and
now it's at 10.5.
Now it's at 10.5. I mean, but it's a currency, right, Bob?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a delusion.
Could you imagine if your value of cash? I mean, that's like Zimbabwe.
I know.
If your cash changes that much, you got a problem. Like, could you imagine your $100 bill one minute being worth like $150, next minute being worth $50, and you're like trying to buy something at the store, like, oh wait, it's up again, I gotta buy it right now. You're telling the guy to scan my items faster before it changes value.
Well, here's the funny thing: is we're very fortunate to be born in the U.S. of A. because there are countries like that. So we can laugh and say it's not a currency, although there are currencies that behave that way. There's when they had hyperinflation in Brazil, it was 25, 30 years ago, but they would literally have the Brazilian real would change 30% in a day. And one day people would be able to afford steak, and the next day they'd be buying rice. So it's laughable here in the U.S., and let's face it, it's laughable in the G8, right? In the major economies, the developed economies. But there's a decent part of the globe that actually has lived their life like this. So as much as we laugh, and I don't believe it's personally a currency either, because it's not accepted in enough places. You can't take Bitcoin to a currency exchange. But this is not the reason why it's not a currency. It's not a currency because it's not universally transactable, in my opinion.
Nor is the Zimbabwe dollar, though.
That's true. That's very true. You can't take that to a currency exchange either. People will be like, why is it in plastic? Why does it say made at Kinko's?
Didn't Zimbabwe at one point have $1 trillion note?
Yeah, they put out $1 trillion note to pay debts.
Oh,
it was a real note, but you could buy about a half a pack of gum with it.
But you could say you're a trillionaire.
You could. You would be right.
By the way, you had me look at Snapchat. Because I haven't looked at Blue Apron is not one I type in regularly, but I did not realize that it hit a low of $2.94.
Oh, should I buy it? Should I buy it? It's another low. Should I buy it?
That's just such a like, I don't know, that question just rubs me the wrong way.
I want to hear you talk about Roku before we get to
there. So I could put this in my why too, but there was an analyst, and again, I'm going to leave names out of this completely, but there was an analyst, basically every analyst on the street, that 12 to 15 analysts who were covering Roku, all had a price target in the range of about $28, approximately, right?
Okay.
Then they signed a deal that they're going to be in, I think it's Philips TVs. Every Philips TV that's going to be built now is going to have Roku built into it. Okay? And the stock shot up. One specific analyst, this happened in the beginning, like mid-November, beginning of November, right? Stock shot up from mid-20s, low 20s, all the way up to about $42, $43. And it's stayed there ever since. And that was when the announcement happened. One particular analyst who had 3 weeks earlier, so mid-October, right, had reaffirmed a $28 target, just went and put a $50 target on it, and talked about how this is the new Netflix, and it's probably going to triple in 3 or 4 years. One event like that, and it just smacks of price chasing, which is what these analysts do, which is why we tell people all the time, like I'll have people say to me, should I buy this? The analysts say it's going here. Like the analysts say it's going to where it's already gone. That's what they do.
Do these analysts have the technical acumen to actually use a Roku device?
I don't know. I would doubt it. But I'm telling you, the day before this particular person put this price target, the day before the announcement of Philips, the close was $18.84 on Roku. 2, 3, 4, 5 days later, $42.72. 2 days after that, price target changed to $50 from $28. And all it is price chasing. Everyone needs to understand that when they talk about where analysts say a stock is going to be, generally it's already gone part of the way and oftentimes all of the way there before the analysts actually change their price target. And all they do, the vast majority, there's some really, really good ones, like Gandalf is good. I like him. But there's just most of what they're doing is saying, wow, the stock went here. Well, let's move our price target up and explain why it already went here. So if you're trading equities on what analysts say is going to happen, you're probably underperforming the S&P, and you may also be losing money. That's my tie-in with Roku. Now, again, Roku does seem like there's a good fundamental story. If
sure.
Philips is doing it, is this something that's going to become a thing now, where Philips does it, and then Sharp decides to do it, and then Samsung does it, and
They already do it. Everybody already does it. So
Philips was the last?
Yeah, and so also Vizio doesn't quite do it because they're a low-cost, high-performance television, so they save every buck they can, but put in good parts. I just think that, the turning a television into a computer has been tried for 20 years. And it doesn't ever seem to really work. Turning a tablet into a television is very successful. Or a phone into a television, very successful.
Yeah. One of the most famous sort of short funds, Citron Research, called Roku stock a complete joke. And actually, it was Citron's research where I learned about this particular analyst. So I'm not talking about them. They can give the name, but they literally came out afterwards calling this analyst out and saying that Roku stock is a complete joke. The company's a mess financially, blah, blah, blah. The usual stuff we hear when a stock's going up. I heard that all Teslas are going to have Roku. Did you hear that, Mike?
Dun, dun, dun.
And he's gone.
And
we lost Mike.
I'm here.
We couldn't
Can't
hear
you hear me?
No, we
I'm
couldn't.
Here.
We could not hear you.
I was going to say, really, the Teslas are going to have Roku? Is that the Model 3?
They're going to be put in every new Model 3, and they're going to be released next week.
So now you really don't have to watch the screen. You can only look at that little screen in the middle of the car to watch your
exactly.
Orange is the new black, or black is the new orange, or
your level 0 self-driving car. You can watch Roku while you're driving.
Perfect.
And in other television news, Star Trek Discovery is now listed on Amazon Video for sale, which means that CBS All Access is a failure.
Is it on there?
The episodes are all listed. People are already writing really positive reviews, but the prices aren't up yet.
Oh.
So that's why would you need to get CBS All Access then, right? If they aren't going to put that terrible show available to buy.
Terrible show.
I will have to watch it first before I pass judgment. We have to get to the economy segment. We only have a few minutes left. Hey, personal income beat 0.4 versus expectations of 0.3. Personal spending down 0.1 versus expectations of 0.2. Manufacturing missed in November 53.9 versus expectations of 54, and down from the last of 54.3. ISM manufacturing 58.2, expectations of 58.3, last 58.7, so down slightly. Goldman just cut its Q4 GDP from 2.6 to 2.3 on a miss in trade and inventories, and the Atlanta Fed GDP Now model puts real GDP growth for the fourth quarter of 2017 to 2.7% as of November 30th. And then we've had a lot of Fed speak. We had Yellen. She was in front of Congress, wasn't she, last time?
Yeah.
What, did she say anything interesting to you?
No, she was ever so slight, and she didn't. It was status quo. She was ever so slightly more interesting in talking about inflation not necessarily being transitory, or lack of inflation, I should say. But no, she didn't say much at all. She just stuck with the script. So did Powell, by the way.
She's on the way out, right?
She is.
Yes.
She's not going to stay on the Fed board.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. One quote I like from her this week: although asset valuations are high by historical standards, overall vulnerabilities in the financial sector appear moderate, as the banking system is well capitalized and broad measures of leverage and credit growth remain contained.
She's not wrong.
So that's another one they've come out with. Asset valuations are high again.
Yeah.
They keep trying to sort of throw that out there as much as possible. Yeah. And then, Dudley came out this week and said the Fed was starting to think about its own digital currency.
That I didn't hear. You know what I heard that was the most interesting Fed speak to me, and you're going to kill me because I don't remember who said it, but hopefully I can find who said it before I finish talking about the statement, was I think it was Dudley. But basically, he said it today. He said that he is worried about the yield curve. There's a real risk to the yield curve inverting, which is interesting because if the yield curve inverts, it's Bullard. I'm sorry, St. Louis Fed President Bullard basically said that there's a material risk of yield curve inversion late next year. So that tells you that if a Fed guy is saying that, then that particular Fed guy will at least dissent to future rate hikes if you actually think there's a material risk of inversion. The last thing Jerome Powell wants to do is to have history say Yellen left, Powell came in, and we immediately went into a recession. That's the last thing that guy wants.
So is Powell, where do you put Powell on the hawkish, dovish side?
He's a dove. He is a dove. He has never voted against the consensus. He has been with Yellen everywhere. If Yellen's a dove, he's a dove. Because he literally hasn't. He's never dissented once in his entire career.
So what's
most of his career has been with the dovish Yellen? I think he might actually go more dovish. Otherwise, nothing. And the reason I think he might go more dovish is, again, because now it's his Fed. And I certainly do not think that he's going to come in with rate hike guns ablazing into an economy that just gave us a GDP that was Goldilocks. It was just right. And GDP was higher, but we had virtually no bump up in price or inflation data. Consumer goods was lower than expected and lower than last month. Core PCE was higher, but only by 1/10. There was nothing in this GDP revision, and it was a revision, although this is the more reliable. This is always the more reliable numbers, the second one in GDP. There was no price pressure in this GDP at all. So Powell comes in, says, let's get more hawkish, and pushes us into a recession with somebody on his board of governors, St. Louis Fed President Bullard, saying, hey, it might invert. And he says in the context of that speech, the way to prevent that aversion is the Fed backs off on rate hikes. So I think the risk is that he gets even more dovish. And by risk, I mean make sure you're positioned for that as opposed to positioned for him to get more hawkish, because to me that is very unlikely.
There's the Bob's take on the new Fed governor.
Bob's take on the new Fed governor.
What's your take on Brexit? We got to touch on Brexit before we get to your why.
We are at another impasse in Brexit. We got to the divorce payment, got that agreed to.
Which is?
I think it's 50 billion euros.
50 billion euros is the last I heard.
Which is kind of funny because the UK started at 0 and the EU started at 100 billion. So if they just would have gone, you want to split it, we'd have been at this point a lot sooner. They just would have done what everybody else does. So should we just go down the middle? Meet in the middle?
But that would have saved a lot of taxpayer dollars.
I know. It actually ended up going more the UK's way because it was never going to be 0. So that was a ridiculous starting point. And I think the UK came back with like 20 or 30 billion euros and then settled on 50. So I think that's what they were hoping to do, is 20 or 30. So it's actually closer to what the UK wanted than what the EU wanted. But the issue we have now is the border with Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland as a country, staying in the EU, and is the only country that there's actually a physical border. It's the only EU country that actually has a physical border with the UK. Everyone else has water. So there's natural checkpoints, obviously, with water. There's docks. But what do you do with the border with Northern Ireland? And the EU wants really no border. They just want to be free flowing between Northern Ireland and the UK. And the hardliners in the UK are saying, there's no way we do that. How is that a Brexit? I mean, anybody could then come from Germany into Northern Ireland and just walk into the EU. So that's the next one, and that one doesn't really have a solution in sight. So I think that December 11th target it's not going to happen.
Again, you have it straight from Bob Ice Manachino.
Straight from the ass's mouth.
Uh-huh. So now, since you're on a roll, what's your why?
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gann ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them at motivewave.com.
So I want to talk about this text I got. I think I want to switch my why to that. This communique I got from a friend who is often asking me what he should buy and what he should sell. And this is not the one I usually talk about. So if any of you are longtime listeners, you may have heard me mention a person before. It's not the same one. Who just threw out a question, should I buy Snap now that it's down? You don't just buy stuff because it's down. Now, throwing a dart at a board like a bunch of Dow stocks or a bunch of S&P stocks at the ones that are down and buying all the ones that are down as a strategy isn't usually that bad. But when you're talking about one specific stock, especially a recently IPO'd momentum-driven tech stock, you say, this is down, should I buy it? While stocks always go up over time, for the long term, they always go up, right? I hate to say always, Mike, but I have to. Where overall, U.S. stocks always go up, individual stocks can go to zero, and they could go down for a long, long time. If your thought process is, I'm just going to look for stocks that are talked about and are lower, as Mike said during the show, or it might have been Stafford that said it, what does down mean? Is it down 10%? Is it down 10 cents? Is it down for 3 days in a row? Is it down below its IPO? What does down mean? You don't just buy something because it's down. And it's part of the reason that Mike's what in this show is more important than my why. My why is hobby. Mike's what is what should we actually do? I was listening to one of the TV shows on the way in this morning, and I heard one of they had a technical analyst on the show, and I heard one of the interviewers, one of the anchors say, this particular tech analyst said, well, financials have been up, so they helped hold the market up. And the anchor said, yeah, and that was because of Powell being nominated. So you couldn't see that in the charts, could you? You had to go back to the news. Now, shocking that a newsman was trying to dismiss that you might not need the news. But the fact is you don't need the news at all to trade. You don't. The news, I'm a fundamental guy in terms of like what I do on TV and what I do within Path with the podcast and stuff. I'm a fundamental guy, but it is more of a hobby. I don't trade on it. I just find it fun. I saw something by the CEO of Credit Suisse. His name is Tijani Thiam, and he was talking about Bitcoin. And he said the only reason today to buy or sell Bitcoin is to make money, which is the very definition of speculation and the very definition of a bubble. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard a smart person say, because the only reason to buy anything is to make money. If it's an investment or if it's a trading product, the duration that you hold something doesn't mean you don't want to make money on it or you're trying to do some good for the world. What we do is about generating capital to potentially do some good with that capital if you want, or to potentially just bathe in pizzas. I don't care what you do with it. But everything we do is to take our money and make more money with it. So in that spirit, you don't just buy a stock because it's down. There's so much more that goes into it, and because of that, you look at price action. And if the price action is telling you that it's gone down and may go back up, then sure. Or if Mike is telling you that it's gone down and it may go back up, then sure. But that old myth of buy low, sell high is exactly that. It's a myth. The way to make money is to buy high and sell higher. I always use the example of a hot air balloon. If you want to go up in the sky in a hot air balloon, you don't jump into one that's coming down. You step into one that's going up. So buy high and sell higher. That's my why.
Very informative, insightful. I feel like I learned something.
Do you now?
Yes.
I feel like you're being sarcastic.
No, I do routinely learn something from you. I just... Because you are I can't even look at the fundamentals. I can't even make sense of fundamentals because it distorts my technical analysis.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, again, you can make up any fundamentals you want. I could say today that crude oil is up because of the OPEC deal, and then I can find out tomorrow that Venezuelan crude production was taken over by rebels, and that was the real reason, right? And either way, if I went long, I made money, but my reason was wrong. Fundamentals are fun, but they're stupid. So, go ahead.
Hey, remember our call from a crude? 58.56. That was hit last week and again this week.
Love
for
it.
For the next target high. The next target high above that, should we continue higher, my next target is 60.83.
Yeah,
where
actually,
we have major resistance.
I was on Bloomberg this morning and I said I'm looking for 60, but not much higher than that.
I think we could get a spike. I don't think it'll close. I think we could get a spike there. That's a spike through 60 and then close back at 60. But that's about it. Oh, and the NASDAQ finally returned to the top of the weekly rotation zone on this sell-off today. So we'll have to see if this holds. It's pulled back from its lows a bit today, but it's down. It wiped out all its gains from yesterday off the latest news from the Michael Flynn plea agreement.
Yeah,
So
that'll be fun.
We shall see. It's never a dull moment in this country right now.
Yeah, let's end this podcast on this note. At the end of the day, if you believe in the policies of this administration from a business standpoint, Mike Pence will bring them along as well. So don't stress about the markets if you think something desperate is happening to the president. I don't personally think it's ever going to get to that point. But Mike Pence will sign the tax bill as well. So while it's moving the markets, it shouldn't.
Yeah, but everything. It's like any headline that comes across now.
Yeah.
It's like pile on, either upside or downside.
Right.
Everything's over-exaggerated. These moves are so over-exaggerated right now in everything, like in all asset classes. It's like headline scanners scan something, and then everything just piles in on it, either positive or negative.
And by the way, I won't just buy because of what I just said. I would wait for a price action reason to buy.
Right. So, I think we should wrap this up. So who are you, Bob?
I'm Bob Iacchino. Thanks for having me again, guys.
And I'm Mike Arnold.
Talk to you guys next week.
Bye for now.